mysteries, hidden history, and the unexplained. Join William Collinson and Lee Strydom on Strange and Mysterious World.
Welcome to Season 3, Episode 7 of Strange and Mysterious World. Tonight we have Bibu on again, our favorite guru. Going to be chatting about UFOs in the Himalayas. So the only thing I know about Himalayan is the Himalayan salt, dude. Have that quite often. I know quite a bit about you, the Himalayas. So. But that mountain range is quite apparently Shangri-La and all those places are there. Shambhala. You know, Shambhala is like that mystical world where almost like an Atlantean race type thing. So that's
we're all waiting for the next Shambhala of the whole world, apparently.
Well, apparently it's been witnessed by quite a few people that have hiked and stuff and seen something there. So that's actually pretty. I'm keen to see what's going on. Anyway, yes, Bibu, let's check to see what's going on.
I think it's altitude sickness.
Bibu, how's it? How are you, Bibu?
Good, man. Good.
How's it going?
Good. Can you hear me?
See you again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coming through good.
All right.
Coming through loud and
good
clear.
To see you guys.
Yeah, good to see you too, man.
So you're back in your own studio.
Yeah, I got my studio going here. See Lee's in his old room there.
Yeah.
And you got your yellow wall.
I think I need to change the background.
Yeah.
Just go to Timu and buy yourself a background.
Yeah, I know. This is too boring. I mean, we'll be talking about UFOs and stuff, and this is like
UFOs in the Himalayas. Now, how on earth? I mean, okay, look, I have heard stories about people that have done they've sort of hiked in the Himalayas and they've come across UFOs and all sorts of stuff. But apparently there's some sort of alien base that's hidden there, or people say it's something similar to Shambhala that's in the mountains, and the UFOs are actually not alien, but actually us that's in an advanced type civilization that's been here for hundreds of thousands of years. They've just kind of separated themselves, almost like Wakanda, man, from the Marvel movies, Wakanda.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where they got the idea from, Wakanda, from that. So yeah, that's all I know.
Yeah. So what happened? This is a specific story, a specific event that happened in the Himalayas. So what happened was that in 2004, a group of 5 Indian scientists, and all of them work for the Indian Space Research Organization, which is like the NASA of India. And they're all like geologists and glaciologists. So they were parking high up in the Himalayas at an altitude of around 14,000 feet. I mean, that's pretty high up, close to a glacier. It's called the Samudra Tapu Glacier. And they were basically studying that glacier. So they had set up their tent out there. They had their porters and all the stuff, everything. And they basically go there every year to do these kind of studies. And they were sitting there, and in the morning, what happened is one of the porters said that, "Look, the snowman is coming." And all of the scientists, it was around 7 o'clock in the morning, and all the scientists, they rushed out of their tents and they saw this small humanoid figure around 3 to 4 feet tall. It was coming down the mountain, and it was pacing its legs. It was basically moving its legs like a human being. It had hands as well. But the feet weren't touching the ground. So it was kind of gliding down without touching the ground. But the entity was still moving its legs. And it had this large cylindrical head. There were some balloon kind of protrusions on top of the head. And it wore a suit, and the suit changed color. So when it was in sunlight, it became black. And at other times, it was white. So this entity, it came down near their tent. It hovered around there. Pardon me.
And you want to get a glass of water or something, Bibu, or blow your nose or something quick? Don't worry, we'll cut this out.
Yeah. So the porters, they got excited and they started making some noise. And so this entity, it kind of retreated and went back up the hill. And then after some time, it disappeared. And so the total time that they saw this particular humanoid entity was for around 45 minutes. And they took a bunch of photographs. All the scientists, they gave their versions. later to the ISRO, and that was documented. And they were completely bamboozled because they couldn't just figure out what happened.
Okay. So that was an alien entity. So there was an alien entity that they saw. Did they see any?
They don't know, because what they said was, we thought it might be let's say a robo or a kind of drone kind of an object. And this was back in 2004. So robotics wasn't really advanced at all in those days. And they contacted a lot of robotics lab across the world to find out if they have the kind of technology which this particular entity demonstrated. And they said that nobody could come up with an explanation for what we saw. There was no technology available at that time that could explain what they saw. And some of the scientists, they said that it just seems so human. I mean, if it's a machine, we know how a machine looks and operates. This was human. It basically came down the mountain and it went towards the scientists as if it wanted to interact with them. And then it hovered around there, and then the porters made some noise, and then it got flustered and it went back up the mountain. So it was a curious entity which came down wanting to interact, and then it kind of got, I mean, maybe upset or scared or something, and it went back up again. So it wasn't a machine. It didn't behave like a machine at all. So it was humanoid entity. And then what I did was I started looking around in the UFO files. I mean, Albert Rosales has this extensive UFO file that he had collected over, I mean, many years. And I found that very similar sightings have been reported all across the world, right from the 1930s till now, where people have noticed this kind of short humanoid entities. Some of them came out of a UFO, out of a spacecraft, while some of them jumped back into a spacecraft. And all of them have this, short body. They have this large, oversized head, and they have this kind of excuse me, I have this cough today. So, and they have these protrusions, some kind of funnel-like protrusions on the head. And yeah, here's the interesting thing. So many of them saw that the dwarf entities don't actually touch the ground with their feet. They kind of float above the ground, but they still keep moving their feet and their legs as if they're walking, but they float above the ground. Many of them carry these cylinders or bags on their backside, and they have been seen, kind of collecting vegetation samples and putting it into their bags. And then I realized that this is what happened there in the Himalayas. It's something that is not very unique. It has been happening for a long time. A lot of these accounts are there, but people don't really pay a lot of attention to these records. They think that, these stories were either made up or they were hallucinating or something like that. But now you have a similar account from a group of scientists, and all of them saw the same thing, which tells you that these kind of humanoid beings who are also associated with UFOs and who have these kind of suits, they wear these silvery suits or dark suits, and with oversized heads, and they collect samples and stuff. They hover over the ground. These kind of sightings are very common. In my article that I wrote for Mysterious Universe, I documented around 7 or 8 examples from around the world, all of them having these kind of elements within the stories. And then I realized, okay, this is actually going on. This is not a freak incident in the Himalayas. It happens from time to time.
And there was no craft that you could see, that they could see?
No. When I looked into this kind of accounts, I found that in some cases they came out of a craft or went back into a craft, whereas in some cases they were just sighted, walking maybe along the road or in an orchard or in a forest, but not necessarily associated with a craft. So,
was there also like an incident of the scientists, they were looking over a lake and they saw something that looked like I don't know if it was a light or like a packet, and it came closer and closer and closer. Then
that was not a scientist. Yeah, that was not a scientist. This was a couple of YouTubers, vloggers, they had gone to a place very close to that glacier. It's called the Chandratal Lake. and they had seen something very similar. They had seen this uh, kind of a ball of light, large ball of light, kind of shaped like a balloon. They saw it coming down, and it swerved into a mountainside. And then they rushed there, thinking that it might have fallen down or broken, and they couldn't find anything there. So it kind of had disappeared. And but this particular incident, they saw kind of a ball of light or balloon, whereas the scientists, they were pretty sure that this was a humanoid entity with arms and legs and a head with balloon kind of attachments, which you also find in these other accounts. They always seem to have, they seem to be wearing a helmet, and on top of the helmet they have this funnel or a balloon kind of couple of attachments, which could be anything. I mean, it could be sensors, or I don't know, something like that.
Oh.
They sound a bit robotic. I know you said you find out. I mean, in those days, the robotics weren't really up to scratch. But maybe it's the advanced civilizations that have got these type of things as their workers. Like what we've always, I think the Greys. A lot of people have said that the Greys are not actually alive, but they're more kind of biological machines. So they're not really. I mean, they don't eat. They don't do any of that kind of stuff. It's just it's almost like a battery, and they operate, they do whatever they need to do. So this one, yeah, sounds like it collects vegetation. So, or samples and those kind of things. So it sounds almost, it doesn't sound alive, if it makes any sense. Maybe it sounds almost like a
Yeah, but thing is
futuristic
that
robot.
it can sense human emotions. So it came to talk with the scientists. It
Okay.
then went away when there was a bit of noise. And if you read some of the other accounts, they in one account, this particular entity, it actually interacts with the human being.
Okay.
One of them takes off his helmet and he smiles at this lady, and then goes away. And then in another one, he actually takes a blood sample. He kind of immobilizes this lady. She can't move her arms or legs. I mean, he might have fired a tranquilizer gun or something, I don't know. And then he takes a blood sample from this lady and then goes away with that. So they behave very similar to human beings. It can't be just a robo. I mean, if it's a robo, it's like a human, very much human-like robo, which is
Wow.
capable of human-like emotions, like laughing or smiling or doing human-like actions. So I started to and in some of these accounts they were describing them as dwarfs or gnomes. So I went back to that whole ant people theory. So I started wondering that could this be the same entities, the gnomes or the dwarfs or the ant people? Then in the Mahabharata, which is one of the very ancient texts of India, they talk about these gnomes were called yakshas. We spoke about that last time. So the yakshas, their home is supposed to be in the Himalayas. Although they used to be present all over India, their primary habitat was in the Himalayas. And there's a particular mountain in the Himalayas called Mount Kailash. It has a pyramidal shape and it's very steep. That mountain is around 6,600 meters high, and it's never been scaled till now because the sides are so steep. And since it is sacred to the Hindus and the Buddhists, after China took over Tibet, they prohibited any kind of mountaineering expeditions out there. Now, there's a story in the Indian legends that the kingdom of the dwarf, the kingdom of the dwarfs is established on Mount Kailash. And there they used to have these gardens and walled cities and groves and stuff like that. But if you look at a picture of the Mount Kailash, you just see a snow-capped mountain and nothing else. So you start wondering how can there be a city or a civilization on that mountain when it's like covered with snow all the time. You can't even climb the mountain. It is so steep. So my guess is that this city of the dwarfs may not be on the mountain. It could be in the mountain, in the sense that there could be underground. It could be underground city under the mountain, like Agartha or Shambhala, and maybe there are tunnels which open out to the mountains, and maybe that's how they go back and forth from their underground city. And I looked into some Irish and Welsh legends, and they talk about these dwarfs, and they say that there are some tunnels in mountains which are called gnome tunnels. These tunnels, and there's a story where this dwarf, he goes to a king of Wales. He takes him to his city, and he takes him through a tunnel in the mountain to his underground city within the mountain. And there the king sees that it's full of riches, unimaginable riches, lot of wealth, much more wealthy than the king himself. And then he comes back, and after he comes back, he experiences time dilation, which is something that always happens when you go to the other world. So my feeling was that maybe it's the gnomes or the dwarfs or the yakshas, as we call them in India. That could be the entity that the scientists saw in the Himalayas.
I'm wondering also, I mean, if technologically, if they would have some sort of device or something up that would seem to outsiders, if you're looking up at the place, it just looks like a mountain with cloud and snow. But if you manage to pass, yeah, it's cloaked. And if you manage to pass through, you will actually see the, because there's a lot of stories about those type of things as well. I mean, with their technology, I'm assuming that would be pretty easy to do. And then if you go a little even further than that, there's people that say that, I don't know if you listen to that, what's that guy, William, the guy that looks like an ET, he's got the big head. David, what's his name?
David Wilcock.
Corey Good and David Wilcock, yeah. So if you listen to him, to Corey Good, he says that Mars, Venus, they're all actually, they've got civilizations, just we can't see it because they've got some sort of cloak technology that makes it look like it's sulfuric and whatever, but actually it's not. So I don't know. So I thought maybe that might be some sort of technology that that these guys in the mountains have.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's possible. Although there are a lot of stories of tunnels leading underground from the mountains into underground habitats, because if you read the legends, they talk about underground locations all the time. And there's this story about Mount Shasta in the Pacific side of America. And Mount Shasta, supposedly, there are a lot of stories where people have seen UFOs go in and out of the mountain. And there was this story about a city located inside the mountain, a city of some kind of humanoid beings located inside the mountain. And I don't remember the whole story. This one guy, he said that he had found the entrance to this particular city, and he was supposed to take a group of adventurers into the city to look into it. But on the day that they were supposed to start off, this guy vanished and he never appeared again. It's almost as if he got abducted. I mean, he could have run off if he was making up a story.
Yeah.
The other option is that maybe he really knew that he had really found the entrance, and these beings, they did not want him to tell the others, and they just whisked him off and took him back to that city where he's still living, maybe.
There was that colonel from World War II. What was his name? Bird. He had an expedition through to the Antarctica. Yeah, because they said that there was the Nazis were supposed to be in the mountains and that, and then apparently the story is that he actually saw there's an underground city that's in the mountains, but it's the gray aliens were predominant. So if that's the case, I'm assuming then that the access around the world through the underground cities is probably very quick. They can move between spaces fast. And then I'm wondering if, with Area 51 and with all these other secret bases that are like the Dolce and all those that are hidden underground, if there isn't a connection to these guys, they know that these guys exist, they work with these guys, but it's all underground. And it's just something that we as normal plebeian human beings don't know about.
Yes, possible. There could be some interaction. I'm sure they were aware of it. There could be sporadic interactions as well. But if these dwarfs or the gnomes or whatever you call them, if they're actually interacting with these military agencies, then we can't really think of them as our friends, right? Because if they're helping the military with their technologies, and if these technologies are doing so much harm to the world, then they're not really helping us. So that kind of brings up if they are I mean, normally when you read the ancient stories, they talk of them as kind of beneficent beings. They're not really harmful towards us. They used to be worshipped actually in India, even in Mexico. They are called aluches. Aluches. They still believe the Mexican farmers. They still believe in the aluches, and they erect a shrine under a tree, and they offer make offerings to the aluches during the crop season because they apparently keep the crops safe from intruders and thieves. And a very similar belief was there in ancient India, where these particular beings were made offerings so that they protect them from thieves and robbers. And they also help them in other ways, fertility and stuff. So the idea that we get is that they were general beneficent beings, and if they actually had any kind of harmful intentions, we'd have known that by now directly, but that has not yet happened. So I don't know if, but there are some in the Indian stories that tell us that there's some yakshas which are beneficent, but there's some which are not. There's a rogue group which doesn't follow the dictates of the good group. That's a smaller rogue group. Yeah, the rogue group could be up to, funny stuff, and they could be maybe even helping the military, for all you know.
I mean, you get them in the Islamic texts as well. They're called jinn. Some jinn
Yeah.
are beneficent, and others are they're nowhere near.
The jinn's more like a spirit possession, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a different being. So whether we think it's a spirit or whether it's a different dimensional.
Yeah, even the gnomes and the dwarfs or the yakshas, they are supposed to be capable of making themselves invisible if they want. So the moment you become invisible, you become like a spirit being. So the boundary between a spirit being and a gnome is very thin.
But that's our dimension. I mean, we're in the third dimension. So as soon as you start going up in dimensions, the more etheric you become, supposedly so. So you can shift between dimensions. When you come down to ours, it's a lower dimension, so you become a lot more solid. Yeah.
But maybe those dimensions are solid, but so they just go into the next dimension and then they can't be seen.
Yeah, but they can turn themselves invisible in front of you as well. I mean, they have this ability. I mean, that's where the cloak theory comes in that Lee was talking about. I mean, they have that kind of something cloak or whatever. And as per the stories, the helmet or the cap that they wear, that's the source of their power. So you take away the helmet or you take away the cap, then that being basically loses its power because that's the source through which they become invisible or do any other kinds of funny things.
I must know that for next time.
Yeah.
Just
Check what it is. Give me a helmet, man.
Just before you stick the probe up your bum, you just kick that helmet off. If Whitley knew, he would have been sad. He would have just kicked the helmet off.
And Lee is anyway wearing a cap now, so I think he can just exchange his cap for the other guys.
Yeah. What kind of powers are you getting there, Lee?
Yeah, I've got lots of powers there, man.
I know you're a guru and you got superhuman powers, but yeah, that'll be pushing it.
Yeah, I'm getting the siddhis with all these mudras I'm doing. The powers are coming.
Are they?
Yeah, so soon you'll be able to push that wall out.
No, they're not coming.
I don't even have to push now. I don't even have to push. I just do this and
just do it with your mind, your eyes closed.
Oh, the mudras working.
Yeah, mudras work. Yeah.
So what mudras are you doing?
Me, I don't do too many. Just around 10 or 12. Just 10 or 12. No,
10 or 12 is a lot.
Not too many.
That's the whole entire list of mudras that I know. So, and the ones that I rattled off for your video, for your film.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yes, the one I did. Yeah.
No, I mean, there's this one which you do for meditation. You just put, that's
like concentration.
Yeah, that's concentration. Yeah. That's the primary one, actually. And then you do this one. This kind of activates your, the ring finger.
Yeah.
It kind of activates your root chakra. So that's good. If you want to start feeling those chakras, you start off with this one.
Okay, now if you want to raise the Kundalinis, that's one you use.
Yeah.
Really?
And it's good for activating your root chakra because it kind of makes you feel more grounded. And so if you're kind of tense, let's say, and feeling anxious or whatever, you use this chakra, it makes you feel more grounded. So you
Okay.
meditate with this chakra. So every time you do these chakras, it's better to kind of close your eyes and just, calm down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
And then this is the heart chakra. This also you can do when you're if you're doing a meditation session or something, the
okay.
heart chakra, it activates your heart kind of
And that's
thing.
also the one in the Jesus iconic paintings.
Yeah, yeah.
You've seen
This
that
one,
one?
both of them, this one and this one,
Oh, the root and the heart, huh?
both
Yeah.
of them. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
Nice.
those three are pretty good. And then of course the Anjali Mudra, the prayer,
The
the
prayer.
Namaste. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what
Which one
about
does
these
that
ones that you
activate?
see the guys like Elon Musk and them, they use that one where it's like the hands out
Oh,
there, and
the
then they do
triangle
that one
like
as
that.
well.
Yeah, this one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they do that one and then they do that one. What's that all about? I see a
This
lot of
is this is a namaste only. It's just done different because the mudra is that you touch all the fingers, the tips of all the fingers together. Now you can do it like this, or you could do it like this. It doesn't really make too much of a difference.
okay.
Now, I
And
mean,
what does that do?
there's an that's you're bringing the left and the right hemispheres of your brain together. So
Mm,
that is again good for concentration. It generates a sense of respect for life and everything else.
okay, cool.
So it's again good for prayers and meditation. So these are all
That one?
different
It's like in the photo. What's that one
and
there?
there yeah, and then there's that mudra. Are you recording this?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, all
Just,
right.
oh
Then
yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
I'll
Just
skip the Kali Yuga mudra that I showed to Will when we were in Kashmir. That's a third finger mudra that you don't show to anybody.
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
Okay, but now I
and
wanted
then,
to
and then
ask
also,
you.
what is
Oh, no, that's the satanic sign.
no? But this is
Yeah,
another mudra. But this is what the
but this
Pope.
is
We saw the
yeah,
Pope doing it, and then
Bob
everyone
doing
was
it
on
right. Yeah,
conspiracies going like, "Look, the Pope's satanic." But what is that? But it's just a mudra.
it's
Is it the poop
it's
mudra?
a Karana mudra, and in the Mediterranean countries they used to call it Corna. Corna. In
What does that
Buddhist
do?
term, it basically wards off the evil eye. So you want to do something, you're embarking on a project or something, trying to do something different or good. So you do this to kind of take away the negative influences.
Okay.
Just
I
it's
don't know. I
amazing
don't.
that something good and positive like that becomes like an evil thing. Hey, they twist
Yeah,
it
that's
like that.
because some people
It's
interpret
like,
the two fingers as horns and stuff. So, I mean,
but
that's
it's like
not.
also like give it horns, like go for
That
it,
that
man.
way,
Like
that way you can
go
interpret any
roll,
of
brother.
this. Yeah, that way you can interpret any of these mudras as some kind of evil sign or something.
Okay. And now, so I wanted to ask you a question about raising Kundalini, because I know it's something we've discussed not with you, but with other people on the show. I've been quite keen to actually try and do that. I'm just a little bit worried because obviously you hear some stories where people are saying if you don't do it slowly, it could be quite detrimental
Well,
to
we just
you.
interviewed Peter
Yeah, so
that
I'm a
had a
little bit worried
bad
to do
Kundalini
things like
experience.
that. But is there? I wouldn't say an easy way, but is there a way to do it where you're not doing it for 10 years? You know what I mean? Somewhere that activates like in some months if you're doing it and you're practicing it, not to wait until you're almost dead before this thing starts activating.
Just stick your finger in a plug socket, your toe, so it goes up.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what kind of most people don't live to tell their story for that one.
Mm.
But surely something, I'm pretty sure something goes up your spine. It's not the snakes.
Yeah. So how do
ESCOM.
you know, Bibu? Do you know how to do it? Is there?
Yeah. See, here's the thing. The Kundalini awakening, it happens as a part of meditation, right? It's not something that you can consciously make it to happen. You can't do it through thought. You can't think it into happening. You can't do mudras and expect that someday is going to happen. No, it's about meditation, how deep you can actually go into your meditative practice. And going deeper into meditative practice means your mind is becoming more and more still. So when your mind is becoming more and more still, that's when it goes basically into your heart chakra. So your mind comes in touch with your heart chakra. So that's the whole idea of meditation. Your mind becomes so calm that it can then slowly perceive the radiance of the heart or the soul. And that's when it feels more calm, blissful, joyful. And that's when the Kundalini actually begins to rise. It doesn't rise just like that. It's only after you enter into that blissful state of meditation does the Kundalini begin to slowly rise. And then you get that popping feeling in your backbone. You'll get that pop, pop, pop. And you feel that energy rising up. And it happened to me a couple of times. And it can be a bit scary because you're not kind of used to that kind of a feeling. And once it's over, then your body might be shivering for a long time because it's just not used to that kind of experience. So Kundalini awakening is something that I don't try anymore because it's a bit scary because you don't know how your body is going to react to that kind of energy. So I don't go that far anymore. I just stop at meditation, calming down the mind, getting close to the heart chakra, getting close to the good vibrations of the soul and feeling calm and blissful. And then
But
I call it off.
how do you do that? So I'm assuming, look, when we meditate, it's a lot of visualization, I suppose you could say that. Where you're almost going into your inner world and you meditating on whatever you're breathing, you're concentrating on your breath in and your breath out. But how do you get to a point where you actually, I don't know, are you seeing a picture of your heart and you're seeing it beating? How do you actually get in tune with that stuff? Because I've got a good imagination, so my mind runs. I'm not talking about a monkey brain. I'm just talking about like seeing things.
And the problem is there's so many meditations. There's like 1,000 meditations. Like, feel the love of, feel the feeling of love. Concentrate on the third eye. Feel picture a shape and a color in this part of your body. There's so many things you have to do. You don't know which one to choose. And
I don't think visualizations are useful because you're trying to calm down your mind. You're trying to calm down the thinking. The moment you get into visualizations, you think of something, and then your mind goes off into something else. And the next thing you know, you're on a beach with a lot of bikini-clad women going around. So you
or in the
shouldn't be
fridge. Thinking what
or in
you're
the
gonna eat.
fridge, or you're making your next movie already. So you the idea is not, I don't think the idea is to visualize. What works for me and what I figured out from by reading a few texts, especially on Buddhist meditation techniques, is that you kind of become aware of your third eye center. That's where, and when you become aware of your third eye, it just direct your awareness there. Don't like try to focus too hard on the third eye and kind of try to injure it. Just become aware of it, and then you can see that that area is kind of pulsating all the time. It's like going in a waveform. If you try to calm down your mind and focus there, you'll feel those pulsations. And those pulsations are basically your mind always going off in a very overactive manner. So it's like going beating, 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 beating like that. And your idea is to calm it down, to lower the intensity of those pulsations. And the way you do that is and that's when you use the chanting. So chanting is much better than visualizations. You don't visualize. You just become aware of the third eye area, and then you start using some kind of a mantra. What that mantra does is that it should be something very personal to you, something that you like using. The simplest is Om. That is the simplest meditation mantra, but you can always use something more than that. If you are into it, you can use Om and follow it with the name of a god or a deity very close to you. So if you're a Catholic, you can say Om Christ. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you bring the vibrations of Om, and you also bring the vibrations of some entity that you kind of care about. that you think of as a source of high energies.
And length of
So
time?
that, yeah, I do it for some time. It's not necessary to, kind of shout it loud. You don't need to let your neighbors know that you're meditating. You can just, you can just, you know, you can hum it. You can just hum it in your mind, or you can just do it silently. It doesn't matter. But you have to say, if you say that name, if you just say Om, what it does is that you'll feel it. You'll feel that the vibrations in this area are gradually coming down, and you're feeling calmer and calmer and calmer. You don't need to see anything. There are times when you might just see a flash of light come to you. But it's okay. It's not necessary to see or feel anything. All you need to feel is you just need to feel that the vibrations in your mind are coming down and you're feeling calmer. And at some point, you need to direct the awareness to your heart chakra, to your soul. That's when the mind can slowly come in touch with your heart center. And then there's a very powerful feeling that you get of very, very powerful feeling of joy and calmness and blissfulness. That's the whole idea of meditation, because the moment, see, the mind gets covered with a lot of energies throughout the day, a lot of thoughts, a lot of negative thoughts, maybe a lot of anxieties or fears, or maybe too much of joy and too much of or excitement. A lot of energies come into the mind throughout the day, and the idea is to calm down the mind and to clean it of all the egoic thoughts or negativities that it accumulates in course of the day. And the way you do that is by getting back into your heart chakra, and that basically cleans up the mind. So the next day we do it, and the next day you wake up from your sleep, you'll feel really fresh. It's almost as if you're just raring to go and do whatever you want to do. You are not burdened by whatever has happened yesterday or till now. So that creates
But that, yeah, B, because there's actually studies of the DNA, like how the DNA resets itself, like from all those energies. It's almost like coding on a computer where there's like little glitches and like um, malfunctioning little parts in the computer that it runs errors, like a computer through coding through the day, it runs errors. That's why you got to defrag it or like reset it or restart it. And that's what your body, your DNA is getting all these like negative little like errors in it. And then
Yeah.
that's what the meditation does. It resets that, it gets rid of it. It like frees it up of those bad energies. And then that's when you reset. So it's
Yeah,
actually
but you
very
do,
good for the
but
DNA.
yeah, it's good for a DNA, it's good for your mind, and your mind controls your body. So if your mind is fresh and pure, and if it's feeling joyful and blissful, then that sends off the positive energy to the rest of your body, and then it's healing the rest of your body as well. So if you have, you know, physical problems or any kind of DNA related issues, it clears up, because it has been found through studies that the practice of mindful meditation or yoga or meditation techniques, they actually bring about changes in your DNA structures. It kind of raises the performance of certain DNA, certain types of DNA, and it downgrades the actions of some other kinds of DNA. So those kinds of genes which cause stress, the activity of those genes are downgraded. So that actually helps in your entire physiological balance of your body.
Okay, and then
So
can you do this for 15 minutes?
so basically by cleaning up your mind, you are healing your body. That's the whole idea.
So like meditation periods, 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, okay?
I think 10 minutes is too little, because you probably need around half an hour or so,
Yeah,
at
because
least.
I've noticed when I meditate, like 10 minutes on my mind, and I meditate every day, I have to get past the 10-minute mark because that's only when my
Yeah,
mind starts calming down. It's
exactly.
only,
Yeah.
where it's
You need
about
10 minutes
15 minutes
to,
actually.
yeah, startup phase itself is 15 minutes. And then you need another 15 minutes to get into a really calm and blissful state. So 30 minutes, I think, is a minimum. Sometimes when I meditate, it can go on for an hour. I generally don't go beyond an hour, because there's so much other stuff to do, so I don't have that much time. But ideally, I would like to go to 2 hours. And there's this Tibetan proverb which says that you need to meditate for 2 hours every day. You should meditate for 2 hours every day, unless you are too busy, in which case you need to meditate for 4 hours.
Yes. Yeah, I've
Because
also
if you
heard
can't,
that. I've also heard, like they
because
say, if you're too busy, then you got to meditate more.
more, yeah.
If
Because if
you're
you
too
can't
busy to
spare,
meditate, you got to
yeah,
meditate more.
meditate more. Yeah. If you're so busy you can't even afford 2 hours, then you probably need 4 hours to clean up all the muck that you have accumulated over over time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But at
Yeah.
half
So
an hour, one sitting, so it can't be like 15 now and 10 later and another 10
no, no,
later.
no, no, no,
Half an
no,
hour,
no,
one
no.
sitting.
Half an hour in one sitting, and preferably twice a day, once in the morning and once at night. But in the morning, we're also busy typically. So I don't know if people can find time in the morning. These days I can do, but earlier I couldn't do in the morning. I used to do mainly in the evening
Okay.
So
before
they
going
said
to
that
sleep.
the best time to meditate by a lot of these practices is like 2 hours before sunrise.
Yeah, but you can't be so specific. Actually, if you listen to many of the yogis, like Yogananda, for instance, he says the best time to meditate is whenever you have the time for it. That's the best time. You don't
Practical
wait.
guru. He's a practical guru. I like it.
Practical guru, yeah. You don't need to wait for that particular moment, and you're still sleepy and you're kind of wondering that I wish I could have slept for 2 more hours. This didn't work for me. So, and then you lose your interest in meditation because you're, kind of picking that very abnormal time. Not abnormal, but very difficult time for most people to wake up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool, man. No, that's fantastic.
But
Thank
yeah.
you, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Thanks,
was,
Bibu. That was amazing.
as always, it's good chatting to you.
Thanks for having me, guys. And it was nice to talk about
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Always such a
So,
pleasure, man. And also, Bibu, I'm going to send you some links to these lights that I've got that you can have a look at and then clip onto
yeah.
your desk and then have a nice studio there.
Sure, yeah.
But how often do you do podcasts, Bibu?
I don't know, it doesn't depend on me. It's how often I get a request to do a podcast, but typically I do 2 or 3 a month.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
We the most frequent,
Ah,
hey?
yeah, this is the third one. This is the third one I'm doing with you guys, but I've done at least I've done quite a few with Cliff Dunning of Earth Ancients.
Okay.
So I've done more than 3 with him.
Oh,
And
wow.
some of the other guys have done two, I think, 2 podcasts.
Okay.
Okay, cool, man.
Fantastic. Yeah, man. Thanks again,
Yeah,
Bibu.
Bibu.
So nice catching
Awesome.
up with you guys, and thanks for the lovely discussion.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah,
We'll chat
thanks,
soon,
Bibu.
man.
I guess just before you go, Bibu, just look at the top of your screen. Does it say like accept recording? Does it say accept recording up there? Because sometimes we forget to ask the guys to accept, and then Lee
I
loses
don't
his
I,
recording. Doesn't say
I don't
anything
see
on your
it.
screen.
I don't see anything. No.
Okay, then it's
Should be
fine.
fine there. Should be fine.
Yeah.
Right. Fantastic, man. Have a good evening.
You too.
Yeah, have a good
See you.
evening.
Chat soon.
Bibu.
Cheers, Bibu.
Cheers,
Bye.
man. Hey.
Right.
Okay, cool, man. That
Lovely.
was great. Loved
Yeah.
it. Always good
Yeah,
to chat
Bibu's
to him.
always a fountain of knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Anyway, I think that's it for tonight. Everybody, guys, girls, and other. Thank you for listening to us and watching us. And yeah, join us next week for our next episode on Strange Mysterious World. Cheers, guys. Cheers, Will.
Bye.